What's up, fam? Happy Wednesday, everybody. I hope you're having a good week, but per usual, it is about to get so much better. But before we get started on this podcast, I just want to pause for a second and just say our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in North Carolina and Florida and everyone affected by this hurricane. The devastation in North Carolina is just honestly hard to even comprehend. We have so many friends and family members there, and we've heard different things, and it's just been a lot to take in. And so we want to do whatever we can to help. We don't know the best way to help right now other than to say Samaritan's Purse is a great organization doing great things on the ground. So I'm actually going to link that in the show notes. If you have anything to give, smallest to biggest amount, doesn't matter. Just a heart to give goes a long, long way. And I know these people will be so appreciative. So just want to say that on the front end that we're thinking of you guys, praying for y'all, and really want to help in whatever way we can. Also want to say we've been traveling the past couple of weeks, and it has been such a joy to get to meet so many of you guys, listen to the podcast. That has filled my heart. It just makes me so excited to get to see you guys face to face, hear about the episodes that have impacted you and how we've been growing along together. It's truly just been such a blessing to me. So thank you so much, everyone who came up to me and told me that. This week is such a special episode I am truly so excited about. This is a first-time guest, but no stranger to anyone. We actually have Christian's brother, Chance, on the podcast.
Hey, everybody.
So welcome to the Let's Go podcast.
Well, thank you.
Well, listen,
I'm excited to be here.
I'm on the podcast with him.
Yeah, and everyone knows who you are. So do you want me to introduce you, babe?
No, that was a joke. It's just for someone listening. It's like, oh, I wonder if Christian's on it too. I'm on it with Chance.
Don't worry.
Yes, he's here as well.
Christian
for
is
those
in
who
the
are
flesh,
concerned.
in the house. But listen, Chance is no stranger to podcasts. So he's a rookie on this podcast, but you've been on Christian's podcast twice.
I have been.
And your lovely wife has an incredible podcast that you are a regular star on.
I've even hosted one.
Oh, okay. I remember that because you called us. You're like, I'm literally having to host this.
Yeah.
What should I talk about?
I had to take over for some questions because she was traveling. So I had to take over and do my own show.
You did a good job.
I tried my best.
If anyone can
job.
just step in and host a random podcast, it's you, bro.
I appreciate it.
Listen, it actually is really cool too because we have Maya coming on the podcast. We're recording an episode with her Wednesday, and it would have made more sense to have y'all on together, but this kind of happened randomly because we already had Maya recording Wednesday, and so Chance is coming into town anyways for Maya recording, and we were like, wait, we should have Chance on the podcast too. So
Do a little brother episode.
little episode.
Siblings.
Little sibling.
And so
action.
I took this one to Instagram and asked a bunch of questions. What do people want to know about Chance and Christian? And y'all, I got some really great questions in. But before I even get to that, Chance, I have to put you on the spot. I did not prepare you for this. But I ask every single guest who ever comes on this podcast the same question, and you're no different. Chance, what is the best piece of advice you have ever been given?
Oh, my goodness.
Bomb drop.
That really, there was no
warning.
No warning on that.
There was no warning on that. I'm trying to think. This would have been a nice one to think about.
This always exposes if you listen to my podcast or not. So now we know.
Now I know. I should have been prepared for that one. Christian didn't give me a heads up either.
I didn't think. Well, you sent us the list of questions, and that
I'm
was
talking.
Well, that was a sneak attack.
It is a sneak attack. Well, if you can't think of one, you can just be thinking about it in the back of your mind and maybe say it at some random point in the podcast.
Okay, yeah. Let me come back to it. Let me rack my brain for some good advice.
I will be thinking about it.
I'm always thinking.
So a lot of people want to know about y'all as brothers. Are you guys close? I mean, that's obvious. Y'all are super close. But one of the common questions, I thought this was hilarious because it's just so y'all, is are y'all competitive?
I would say we are very competitive, almost to a fault.
I would say yes. Accurate.
Our competitiveness has
never died.
No, it's never died, but it's led me to many rifts, I feel like, with your family at times, because I take competitiveness that I had growing up and put it on you and your family and your siblings, and your family is not near as competitive as I am.
Thank you for that confession.
It's kind of like a disproportionate, of sports and stuff, because I just kind of take it to another level, and your family's not usually for that.
And I can attest to that. It's the same way with me and Maya when we were. I can't remember if we were dating or I think it was when we were dating, and we went and played pickleball, and we played y'all two in volleyball and pickleball, and I was getting so frustrated because Christian and Sadie were dominating us.
Christian has no chill. Christian also never lets off the gas, no matter who he's playing.
And rightfully so. And I was
Which you wouldn't either if you
I
were
was
beating
getting
me.
so frustrated, and Maya just telling me, it's okay, it's just a game. And that was just fueling my fire even more. It was like, no, it is not okay to be just getting beat down by my brother right now.
It was so
we
funny
are-
because it was like we kept talking about other games we could play. It's like, okay, well, now let's try volleyball. And then it ended with like, now let's do a swim race, which that was the one I did not participate in. And I would have lost that because I am not a fast swimmer. So
I think that was the one thing you beat me in.
if we would have made it to the pool, that y'all would have.
But like just for
crushed us.
context, so I'm 26, you're 24, and like you said earlier, we were just in Auburn for this weekend. And the first night we were there, we were the only two that wanted to go in the hot tub. Everyone else wanted to stay in the house. And just to kind of like set the tone. This hot tub, it's pretty big. It's like maybe 15 by 15, like pretty spacious. It's raining.
It's really big.
And we're like both sitting on opposite sides of the hot tub. And we kind of just like looked at each other. And we were it was almost like that moment. It's like, are you thinking what I'm thinking? And then literally for 45 minutes, we just wrestled each other in the hot tub.
Yeah, no.
And like we're
just
suplexing
I was
each other.
literally just about to say
Like-
that because we could see y'all from our perspective up in the house. And Maya goes, I sense that they're getting the urge. And I was like, to what? And she goes, to wrestle. And then you guys literally started wrestling for so long.
Like literally, like I jammed my thumb pretty bad.
No, they always
And-
wrestle. And that was something I've never seen before. And like not just in the hot tub, they wrestle like on the floor. So I remember when your parents were like moving and they were in that condo and y'all just like shut the door and we kept just like hearing things like hit and your dad gets so mad at y'all.
He does. Well, especially because whenever we were younger, we would always wrestle upstairs, and Dad would always say it sounded like we were coming through the ceiling.
Yeah, because y'all are not like small humans.
But yeah, just to wrap that question up, we are like the most two competitive people that.
Okay, so this kind of leads into that.
We're sore losers. We don't do losing well.
Yeah, I will admit, we can definitely work on our losing.
Yes, for
Well,
sure.
the one time I ever saw you and Maya get in a fight was over code names when you cheated.
That was funny. And honestly, I really didn't even, it wasn't even like I tried to hide it. Y'all just didn't even realize that. I literally walked around the super long island in the middle of the kitchen. The phone is literally right to the left of Maya. And I just picked up her phone, typed in her passcode, opened her notes, and found the answer. And then literally walked right back around and answered it immediately. And then everybody was so shocked as to how we got it. It's actually really funny. Me and Maya bring that story up quite a bit.
If you've ever played Codenames and you know what we're talking about, like all of us, because I can't pay attention that much, you know, we all write down like our thoughts, like the words that we're thinking on our notes on our phone. And Chance knew this about us. And so he comes around and reads our notes and guesses the thing they win the
Maya
game.
Maya was bragging that she knew it and we didn't.
That
so I had
was
to go
so
find
funny.
it out.
So yeah, y'all's competitives can sometimes get the best of you guys, but I
Yes.
do think it's actually made y'all better because you're a pitcher, you were a catcher. I think that y'all helped each other a lot to even probably get you a chance to where you are today. Would y'all agree?
Yeah,
I
for
would
sure.
agree.
I caught Chance in high school, and anytime he like threw a pitch in the dirt when I was catching, I would like spike it back to him when he was pitching.
Not spike it. You would
I would,
throw
like-
it hard back to me.
That, or I would throw it back. You'd have to pick it from on the mound. But yes, we're very
Okay,
competitive.
speaking of just kind of competitiveness and you throwing something hard, a lot of people ask, what is the most embarrassing story you'll have about each other? Because I know this one.
You can
Chance, you
start.
want to share?
Okay, yeah, I'll start. So, given that we both played baseball growing up, Christian's always had a really good arm, and our elementary school didn't start until I think like 8:45 or 9, and Christian's outside one morning just throwing the tennis ball into the trees in the front yard.
I'm trying to hit squirrels with the tennis
and
ball.
he's trying to hit he's trying to hit squirrels in the trees, and and he thinks he sees a squirrel, and he and he chucks the tennis ball at the squirrel, and somehow, some way, actually hits it, and then he sees this bird just drop out of the tree and land in the driveway or in the front yard or something, and killed it.
Well, the truth is, yeah.
And then we're driving to school, and Halo, I think by Beyonce, comes on, and it's at the point of, let me see your halo, halo, and Christian starts getting teary-eyed in the back, goes, turn it off. Turn it off. I can't.
Which is so weird.
Halo.
No, like I so vividly remember that day. It was elementary school, and I was trying to hit squirrels out of the tree, and I saw the bird. I just was thinking like, there's just no chance I would ever hit it, and I drilled it, and it just died immediately, and I just felt so bad.
And something about Halo, just thinking about that bird
then we're driving. It's like a 10-minute drive to the school from where we were, and Halo came on, and it was an emotional morning because I think it's actually random, but we were doing a play, and I remember like being so sad our whole like rehearsal for the play that day. So that's my embarrassing.
It's so funny to imagine y'all doing plays in like elementary school and stuff. And to that, like you really are the most sensitive person with animals. Like you will like make sure you don't hit a squirrel, like anything in the road, like Louisiana, there's a lot of like roadkill, and you like your heart breaks every time you see that. So I can see you like actually crying to Halo.
I do have a wrestle with hunting because I love hunting, but I do get sad sometimes.
I know you can't. No way you listen to sad songs. Do you have any embarrassing story about Chance? I mean, do we have embarrassing story about Chance? Yes, but can you think of one?
Yes, there's many, but one that I always go back to, and if you're listening to this and you have young kids around you, maybe you could just turn it off.
I'm scared.
No, this is not inappropriate. So I think I'm in 9th grade at this point. 8th grade or 9th grade. It's one of the two.
Which I would be in 6th or 7th grade.
Which is embarrassing for you. So it's 6th or 7th grade for Chance, and it's Christmas Eve, and everyone's going to... Okay. Like I said, you're 6th or 7th grade, which is way too old. And we're all going to sleep, and like Chance yells at my parents not to forget to put the reindeer food in the driveway, and
a totally legitimate thing to say.
And then of course, my mom goes and I don't know if she had reindeer food. I don't know what.
I brought it home from school.
Oh yes, that's right. You brought there's no way they were passing out reindeer food in middle school.
Maybe not in middle school. It might have been 6th grade because it just always got given.
For the sake of the story, Chance was in 6th grade or 7th grade and was still believing in Santa Claus.
But your mom's such a legend, though. I know she put that reindeer food out. There's no way she told you that night.
And our parents always did the best job of making us believe in Santa. I think they still did Santa even that long.
I don't know when you stopped. Like it was
probably soon after that, I think.
Well, it's so funny because you and Maya are like the perfect couple. Because truly, like sometimes opposites attract. Me and Christian, opposites attract. You and Maya are like the same person. Like y'all are so similar. And Maya, I think she admitted this on the podcast when she was on with your mom, that she believed in Santa Claus till freshman year of high school. So you guys are a match made in heaven. She does beat you. That is hilarious.
That's one thing that I don't get sore about losing. And I don't get sore about losing in that competition.
The Santa Claus?
Yeah.
No, whoever believes longest wins, honestly, because it's better. It's better that way. And if you wanted it, I know there'd be reindeer food out. And they are. But I think that's so fun, though. I mean, Santa's such a controversial thing right now, but I mean,
it shouldn't be controversial.
Looking back, I don't like regret those things. Like I think that's really sweet and made childhood really fun.
So fun.
It's just a funny story because me and Chance lived upstairs at our old house, and it just was like at the loudest voice possible, like, "Mom, please don't forget to put out the reindeer food."
Well, and Christian heard it so loudly because we would sleep in the same room on Christmas Eve.
That is so good.
Cut.
That's the clip for socials right there, baby. That's hilarious. Okay, a lot of people wanted to know about Chance's first thoughts and impressions of me. Now, I'm kind of scared about this. You have to be totally honest. Oh, I have my first thoughts of Chance. And people also brought up, what about you and Bella crashing me and Christian's first date?
Oh,
so I want to know the whole thing. What were your first impressions?
People really asked that question?
Yeah, people really did because we told that story. So what Chance is referred to at my first thoughts of Chance, honestly, Chance, from the start, I loved you. I thought you were hilarious. You were like life of the party person, and I had heard so many good things about you. So this did not really make me think anything other about you. I just thought it was like funny. But basically what happened was me and Christian were like on our first date. Literally, this is like our first date weekend. And we went shopping in Nashville, and Christian bought me this like cute little orange bandana. And so I like tied it around my jeans because I thought it was cute. And so literally the first thing that Chance said when he met me, he's like, "Hey, I'm Chance, like, nice to meet you." And he's like, "What is that, fashion?" And he points to my bandana. I was like,
Christian was very offended.
I was like, "Yeah, your brother bought it for me actually today."
Thank you.
And first of all, this was also what he said to me on the date that he was crashing.
But no, this was before we crashed the date, wasn't it?
No, this was at St. Anaho. I remember it. We were at St. Anaho in Nashville, and we were upstairs because there was no seats available, but like upstairs. And you were like, Chance and Bella are here. And I was like, what? Oh my gosh.
Okay. We were there because I put us crashing the date on Bella. Me and Bella we can hash this out later. But we tried to go eat somewhere across the street, and they were completely booked. So then Bella's idea was to go over to St. Anaho and try and get our own table. And then somehow
but the problem is we didn't even have a table. So we all end up in like the no table upstairs zone.
Well, the whole night was a cluster.
It was a cluster.
Well, because we sit at this table, and it's like a little couch kind of thing, I think it was.
It wasn't even like a table.
And this was before, Chance really turned his life around.
BC.
This is Chance BC. And this guy brings over a margarita, and he's like, this is for, like, he thinks we ordered one. And I'm like, no, that's not for us. And Chance is like, I'll take it. And Chance is like 18. This is me and Sadie's first date. And like my 18-year-old brother, who's, clearly used to be 21 to drink alcohol legally.
A month into freshman year of college.
A month into freshman year of college, and Chance is drinking a margarita.
Well, he's like, I'll take it. And then this is what happened. Christian's like, no, you won't. And then you're like, why? And then he's like, because you're just not going to take that. And you're like, but dude, why? And then it was like so hard because you could tell like this wouldn't normally be a problem, but Christian was trying to like.
Yes, it would.
It would be a problem. It would be a problem. But you were extra trying to like make it look good for me. But like I could tell. And then like my sister's there. So me and Bella are like laughing. And then you guys get in this like bro conversation about, because there was like dirt bike races on TV that y'all are watching. And so like y'all talked the whole time.
I don't remember this part.
And we hardly talked at all. And it was so funny because like we had the day before that where we really like went on a date and I like really liked you. And then the second day, like when Chance crashed, and I was like, I don't know. Like, I just don't really know where, like, he's at. That was just kind of, like, a weird moment. And that was, like, my one hesitation. And then, like,
I did put some strain on this relationship.
You did.
I still thought it was
but I still loved you. I was like, he's awesome and hilarious, but I was just not sure this was going to work out. And then the next day, we went to Pottery, and we had, like, some good one-on-one. And I was like, okay, actually, I do really like you.
And Christian had to apologize probably for my behavior.
No, it was just funny because I was trying to be nice and being like, yeah, sure, your sister and my brother can come. So I thought it was going to be like inclusive, and you thought it was going to be like nice that I would let Bella come.
That was the thought process.
But it completely backfired.
It was just hilarious. It's honestly such a funny memory looking back. And really Bella knew you guys before I knew y'all. So that's how Bella was even in the picture anyways, because y'all were pretty close friends. Friends, let's talk about something so near and dear to my heart, and that is life. I literally wrote a book called Live, all about loving life. Becoming a mom truly changed my life, and raising my girls has been the most fun and humbling experience. And my friends at Every Life know exactly what I mean. They're the fastest growing diaper company in America, as well as the only pro-life one. Every Life believes that every baby, planned or unplanned, is a blessing that deserves love and protection. Not only does Every Life have an awesome mission to protect the most vulnerable people in our world, but they also offer premium products. It's important for moms to feel confident about the products we use on our little ones, and Every Life diapers are high-performing, soft, and made without dyes, lotions, fragrances, latex, and other hard-to-pronounce additives. They're clean and safe, and both mom and baby will sleep a lot better with Every Life's 12-hour leak protection. Plus, they come straight to your doorstep, so you won't have to load up, head to the store every time you need some diapers and wipes, which I absolutely love. If you love the idea of supporting a pro-life company but don't have a baby at home, then you can still support Every Life's mission with their Buy for a Cause bundles. Purchase them online, and Every Life will send them straight to a pregnancy resource center in urgent need of diapers and wipes for new moms who have chosen life, which I think is so amazing, because if there's babies in the picture, they are needing diapers and wipes, so you guys can help give to that, which I think is just so special. I have loved Every Life. I wasn't so sure about changing the diapers I was using because my girls have sensitive skin. So when I tried Every Life, I was so surprised that they had no breakouts. They were such great quality, because sometimes you're like, I want to support the mission, but I don't know if like I'm going to love the diaper. But actually, I love the diapers, love the wipes, and it's so much better to actually know that your money's going towards something that's, making change on the other side. So visit everylife.com. That's everylife.com, and use our promo code WOE to get 10% off your first order today. Everylife.com. Use the promo code WOE to save 10% off your first order. Okay, but in all honesty, you can be totally honest. I will not be offended. What was your first impression of me? Because I was honest about that night.
My first impression is I thought you were very cool. Yeah,
I'm kind of surprised because I thought y'all were cool. I was very intimidated because I didn't think y'all were going to think I was cool. I thought y'all were going to think I was kind of weird.
Well, I thought you were, I think I'm a very like weird, funny person. So I thought that like your funny weirdness, I thought we matched well. I thought we matched.
It actually did kind of make me feel better whenever I met you because I was so different than Christian because he isn't like weird. And I was thinking like, how does he like me? Because he's so
Christian
cool.
is weird. You just have to. You just have to know.
Weird.
You just have to know him long enough for the weird to come out. Where with me, the weird just kind of comes out automatically.
It's like everyone knows that about us. But Christian, he actually is like you are really weird and you are hilarious, but nobody really knows that. And you know how people always tell you they're intimidated by you when they meet you. Mm-hmm. And so like when we were on our first date, I was kind of thinking like, I don't know if you're going to like me because I am kind of weird. And I don't know if I'm going to be too weird for you because you're so cool. But then when I met you, I was like, oh, he is going to like me because him and his brother are so close and I'm like his brother. And it was like perfect. Remember I told you that?
I did remember that.
I was like, Chance kind of made me feel like I can be myself because we're kind of similar in personality and that you will appreciate that and not think it's like too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought you were cool. I can't remember. This must have been after the St. Anejo.
Yeah, I know what you're about to say.
To the, I can't even remember. We went to some random parking lot in Nashville.
We were trying to meet up with Mom.
We were trying to meet with your mom?
Yeah, we were trying to like connect with her because she was like with friends or something. We were all trying to get back to Franklin from Nashville.
Okay. And then I can't remember what, I think we were maybe all in the same car.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think we were all in Christian's car and we were blaring this one song, and then me and Sadie had to twerk off against each other.
Okay, so this was not me like BC because I love the Lord, but this was me before like full on ministry and everything. And yes, we were all young.
But nothing's wrong with having like a twerk off.
No, nothing's wrong with having a twerk off, but it was really funny because we were listening to the song.
And it was just us four.
And you started like, yeah, and then I can't remember what was the song. It was such a weird, annoying song.
I can't remember. But it had,
hey, pop it, pop it, pop it, pop it, yeah. Hey,
yeah.
Stealer man.
Which is a super bad song, so maybe cut that part, who knows?
Okay, so then Chance was like, I was like, I heard you can twerk because like Bella showed me this video on time of you just being funny at the house. And you're like, yeah. So you get out of the car and it's like, yeah, hey, pop it, pop it, pop it. And I was like, somebody turn on, turn down for what?
Yeah, and then
I was like, that was like my song because not that I did this at any party in high school because I actually didn't, but I did discover a talent that I could twerk to the beat of Turn Down for What.
That you can. I have not seen that in years.
I'm crying. Okay, so that's a true, honest, what Chance's first impression was of me. I knew that story was going to come out if I asked you that. I was kind of afraid, but I was like, full send.
I forgot about some of those moments.
That is hilarious. Okay.
And that's what led me to believe that you were really cool and funny.
I know, because that actually is good. Because I feel like back in the day, especially like when you do ministry, and this is like side note, you know how Miles kept saying in a sermon, like side sermon? It's kind of like side sermon, but I feel like sometimes in ministry, like people forget like that you're human too, and not that I don't think you ever have to compromise your faith to be like anything in ministry to have fun in life. I think you can fully follow God and be like completely devoted, surrender to the Lord, and actually have fun. And I feel like a lot of times when people, even like friends of mine, like at first, when we first became friends, they're like kind of, where are you at with like just having fun? It's like people think you have to be serious all the time. And that's why I try on like social media to always like also have fun. Like do dance videos, do the challenges, like just be ourselves, because that's so a part of who we are. And it's not compromising our faith. Yeah. So I do think that was good that happened the first night, because it showed you like, hey, I'm actually like super normal.
Yeah.
And I can twerk to Turn Down for What. It's my fun.
And if you're listening to this and you are one of the people that comment mean things on dance videos, just don't do that.
Don't do that, because...
Don't be that person.
Because Christian's getting better.
Because Christian is getting way better, and we support that.
Like
and maybe Christian will be on Dancing with the Stars one day.
No. Please don't ever call me.
I would love to see it.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah, sure.
Well, it'd only be for 1 week. You'd probably get voted off.
No, I would be so likable that they just would want to keep.
Oh my gosh.
What did you learn from this experience?
Nothing.
What is that from?
You have to watch Dancing with the Stars to know. But last week, the girl who got voted off, it was bad. And they asked her what she learned from the show, and she said, nothing.
It was like, what will you take with you? Or like, what did you learn from this experience? Or so to say.
She just point blank said nothing. No chill at all. Okay, so kind of pivoting a little bit, but we were kind of reminiscing on that funny story about after we got together and then Chance kind of confiding in you and like wanting to find a godly relationship. But I do want to talk about that because a lot of people ask this question. What would you tell younger guys to look for in a potential girlfriend or future wife? And I remember a specific time Chance kind of asking you advice on that because, that was like Chance's single college days, and we had just kind of started to get closer to getting engaged. I think we had just gotten engaged when y'all had that conversation. But y'all want to speak to that a little bit about like what to look for in godly relationships and how to get there?
Do you want to start it?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, we were talking about this a little bit in the car on the way here. I think for me, I mean, just practical things of like the person that you're going to pursue and that you want to be in relationship with. I think you want them to be authentic and genuine. I think people's friends speak so loudly to who they are, whoever you surround yourself with. That's the saying, your 5 best friends, you'll be the culmination of those people. But even things like, and we were talking about this, and not that you disagree with me, but I don't think you've really thought about it. But even like social media stuff, like who do they follow? Like what is their, like even just things like that. Like you want to pursue somebody who, like is practically putting steps in place to like pursue purity.
Which I didn't even think about that until you brought that up. And I was like, wait, yeah. That is a really good point.
Well, because it's the same way. It's like if you're a girl, like, and you like this guy, and then you go to his page, and like the top 15 accounts are like, seductive women that are like supermodels and like swimsuit models. It's like, well, if that's what they're constantly looking at, then like maybe that's not the person that you want to attach your life to.
Yeah, which is so true.
So I mean, I think it just kind of goes both ways of like, I'm gonna kind of botch it, and I'm not really gonna articulate what I'm wanting to say, but like, you have to be like the person that, oh gosh.
You have to be the person that you want to find.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm trying to say?
It starts with you.
Yeah, it starts with you. Like these qualities you want to have in a person, like you better be doing those same things. Like you can't want this girlfriend or this boyfriend to be all these things if you're not doing it yourself. Yeah. So like it starts with you. If you're not, putting those practices into place, and if you're not doing that yourself, then you can't put all that on someone else and expect them to do it if you're not even doing it yourself. So I think it starts with you. So,
in hindsight, like everything you just said is actually so true. And some of the things I noticed first about you, like I noticed your friends were amazing. I loved your friends. I thought they were like so incredible, and just the fact that you were surrounded by them, and not even just your friends, but how you did friendship. Like you were super intentional with the guys in your life. Y'all always had like such great conversations, went to church together, went to the Red Barn, which is a place in Auburn where y'all would like pray, and y'all were all so intentional about how you did life, and y'all's Bible study was like really serious. It wasn't just like a casual Bible study. It was like, hey, let's like confess sin and get better. And then also I noticed how few people you followed, and I really appreciated that. And I felt like, and I didn't know as much of your past life at the beginning as to later how serious you were about just kind of like detoxing that stuff out of your life. But I already had noticed it, and I like really respected that about you. And what was so interesting, Chance, because we had this conversation last night, so I kind of know this, but even how you said to Christian, you're like, I never even thought about that before you said that. I think that was like so cool to hear you say. Even and last night as we were talking about things, you were like, I did some dumb stuff, but I didn't even think it was dumb at the time. Yeah. And I think like so much like from a girl, because girls do kind of mature faster than guys, in some areas. And so we're like, how could he do that? All this stuff. Yeah. And then like you talk to a guy and they're like, oh, they like literally weren't thinking that. Like they weren't even thinking about it. When do you feel like your maturity like flipped so you started thinking about it?
Maybe in like the middle of my sophomore year. I think my maturity came once I really wanted to start pursuing God more. And, kind of wanted to live a life that was worth living, which I think just that was something that I saw in colleges. I thought college was supposed to be this super fun time. Like I grew up in the church, my whole life, but I always thought like college will be my fun 4 years, and then I'll get back to this whole relationship with God kind of thing. And that just burnt me out very quickly. I think after a year, after like my full freshman year, and then going and playing summer ball, and then coming back for the first couple months of sophomore year, I was like, man, this is kind of getting really old and really tiring. Just that feeling of waking up and, just regretting what you did last night, but then like wanting to, like, just being one foot in, one foot out of how do I have fun in college? But then how do I also, then I also had this desire to follow Jesus, because that was how I was born and raised. And so I think kind of once I started to really shift my focus to following Jesus a lot more and starting to leave kind of my worldly desires behind, partying freshman year or just partying on the weekends and all that, I think is whenever I started to really mature.
Friends, you know that I love spending time in the Bible and journaling, from my personal time with the Word to crafting messages to sharing at conferences and Bible studies with friends. I love Mr. Pen products because they just make it so much more fun. The process is so much more fun whenever everything is looking cute. Mr. Pen is a Christian company that makes pens and highlighters especially for your Bible, which is really cool because they don't bleed through the pages like regular pens do. And with over 100,000 5-star reviews on Amazon, it is clear that I'm not the only one who adores Mr. Pen products. Y'all have some right here in this little Mr. Pen fanny pack. We have all kinds of products. So here's some of their cute little highlighter set, and they have these in multiple colors. So whatever type of color vibes you're going for, they probably have you covered. They have all kinds of fun products like sticky notes, journaling things, organization, clips. It really is amazing, and I have absolutely loved using it in my journal and my Bible. So whether you need a reliable pen for taking some notes during a sermon or at school, or just for your own prayer journal, Mr. Pen has you covered with awesome supplies that will level up your study game. Stock up on your Mr. Pen journaling supplies today. Visit sadiepens.com and be sure to check out my favorites. That's sadiepens.com to get all your Mr. Pen Bible journaling supplies. You will be so glad you did. You guys are going to love it. I can see that. It's so cool. Like, I'm so thankful that we met when we did, and I got to be in that. Because I just think it's so cool. Like, it really is. I remember like that, I guess, like maturity switch, and like we all are young and we're all still maturing, and we were at the same time you were. So I'm not saying this is like you were so young. Like we were in it too. We were growing too. We were figuring things out and making mistakes too at the same time. Our like bigger life changes happened a few years before yours, but we were like growing together. But I so remember like you calling Christian and like starting to ask like really intentional questions, and where Christian would come to me and be like, listen to what Chance just asked me. And it was like really cool. Like you were thinking like deeply about your faith. And I think it's really cool how you said like, I think it switched when I actually started saying like, I don't want this anymore. Like, I want to start pursuing the Lord. Some of that looks like you talking to Christian about it. And someone actually asked this question. I thought this was really good, but it was like how to cultivate a place for spiritual conversations amongst brothers. And I do remember when we first started dating, like y'all didn't necessarily talk about spiritual things a lot. I don't know if you could say that about just y'all, but more just like, I don't remember that being like a huge thing. But then over time, as our relationship kept going, I don't know really what changed. Maybe y'all just started being more open to it. But how did y'all begin to like cultivate a relationship as brothers where you started talking about spiritual stuff? Or did you always do that and it was just something I noticed coming in?
Well, I think me and you have always been super close. But then definitely once you kind of had your big life change your freshman year of college, and I hadn't quite had that yet. I always just like, I feel like the want to have the spiritual conversations wasn't there because I didn't want to be called out on what I knew that I was doing was wrong, but I didn't want to hear anybody tell it to me, especially not Christian, because as you know, Christian is very blunt, and his harshness in delivering some stuff to me was just because of how much he cared for me and loved me, which at the time of being 17, 18, 19,
and part of that came from a place of like, I did the same dumb stuff. Yeah. And like, you saw how it turned out for me, which was not good. Yeah. So, and then it's like, you're doing the same thing. So like, it's going to be a similar result.
Yeah. But, But yeah, I mean, I just think that it also is delivered that way just because you know how much you care for me and you didn't want me to have to experience the same pain and hurt that you had to experience to get to that point. You know, I think that's something so important, especially in kind of all the times that I have gotten to speak to different people is, you know, I tell them like, listen to what people who are going through have told you things because it really like you don't want to find out for yourself, you know, in the sense of like when I was 17 and me and Christian had the one talk in the car, you know, it was like I should have like stopped what I was doing and listened to him right there, especially like with how serious the conversation was. But I viewed it as the sense of you already had your fun. Like, let me have my fun, and then I'll come to the same realization as you. But what you think is fun in the moment really leads to pain and hurt. And I think that's, you know, the deception of the devil is he makes everything seem super fun, but he's not going to tell you that sex before marriage or partying on the weekends or doing all this stuff is fun in the moment, but the baggage that it has you carry further on down the road, because if you knew the pain and hurt that was going to be coming with it, you wouldn't be engaging in the activity in the first place.
I think that's so true, Chance. That's such a good point. And it makes me think of that verse, like, the thief comes to kill, steal, and destroy, but I come to give life and life abundantly. And it's like when you think about fun, and we kind of have talked about this a few times, like what we thought was fun or that was funny, like you don't have to compromise. It's like what the enemy deceives you in thinking is fun, at the end, it steals, it kills, and destroys. If you think about it for 2 seconds, any person with common sense will go, well, that's not fun then, you know, even if it is like whatever high in the moment, if it steals, kills, and destroys, I don't want it. But then there is like fun that you can have fully living in Christ that 100%. Actually brings life and life abundantly. And you wake up the next day and you're more filled and you have more joy. And so I think like that's such a good thing to point out. It's like if someone says something, listen, because they're not trying to steal your fun. They're actually trying to save you from your life being stolen from you, you know? And I think that that's so cool because I think, Christian, even if you want to speak to that a little bit about cultivating like conversations, because I do think you were willing to have some of those hard conversations with Chance out of like love. But how would you like encourage people out there to start having those conversations with people that they love, that they're seeing like go down a path that maybe you've been on and you're trying to like just help? Yeah.
Well, it is tough because there is tension. And even like after that, you know, like conversation, I don't know, it's, you know how sometimes like spiritual conversations can be hard with people that like you both kind of like did dumb stuff together, if that makes sense. Like, it's like it can kind of just feel weird of like, you know, like doing this crazy stuff together now, like, let's be all spiritual. So it's kind of like a weird tension.
You feel like it's like hypocritical, but it's not. It's actually just like your new self.
Yeah, it's a tension. And obviously, you know me, I'm like, you know, obviously super spiritual, but I'm not like, I don't like starting off questions like super spiritual. Like,
you don't like it to be awkward.
Like I would not ask Chance like,
we just like it to be easygoing. Like easygoing
let's just chat.
Like, and like, what have you been struggling with lately versus like, you know, just making it like sound spiritual.
Like you're coming and confronting like before, it doesn't have to be like a confrontation. It can literally be a question.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
that kind of goes to that.
Well, and too,
Jonah talk, you know, because it was so cool. We had this, we were all at the same Sunday service, and Miles was talking about Jonah, and it was so cool because God wasn't like, are you crazy? You're ridiculous. You're so whatever. He was like, is it right for you to be that angry? Like he kept asking questions. So like it would like prick Jonah's heart to have to answer and come to terms with his own, you know, state. And like putting a mirror up in his face is what he was kind of saying. And I think that's such a better approach than saying like, you're doing this and you're doing this, and like confronting it, rather than saying like, hey, how are you doing? Like, are you struggling? You know, and like,
and I think too, you can have such, like, I feel like you can have very deep conversations that like are led into very casually and easygoing, you know, like, and I feel like that comes too with how close like we all are as a family. I feel like we can just kind of, you know, just ask the question instead of me being like telling Christian, it's like, all right, I need to prepare you for this question. You know, it's like I just kind of say what I'm thinking because I feel like I can just talk to him about those things. Now, whenever we were first having those conversations, it's definitely something to grow in. I was like, a little more, not necessarily hesitant to ask the questions, but it was almost like the questions were a little harder to ask, just since, they are like, you do ask deep questions, and it can be a little weird at first whenever you're not really on the same page.
Yeah.
But I feel like, just as we've grown, I feel like we've gotten a lot closer as brothers since, we've always been super close, but I definitely think since COVID happened, our relationship has just definitely grown a lot more, even in a spiritual sense. And it's just from the comfortability with one another, just being able to ask those questions and not feel hesitant to kind of like beat around the bush with it.
Yeah. But even like today, like you're outside reading and I'm just like, what are you reading? And you're like, Matthew. And we talked about it you asked me, like, why does Matthew start with the genealogy of Jesus? And I, said why I think he did that. And because it's, like to Jewish people and to Israel descendants, like that's such a core, thing of their history of like Abraham to David and then David to Jesus and like just the lineage and just the prophecies. Like that's what's important. Like, so we read it, but it's not like, I don't know. I think sometimes like we can like ask like these weird spiritual questions, and it's just like, just ask like.
Well, the thing is, I think what you're saying is, and this is what I see y'all do so well, is like, if you want to have a relationship with someone to ask spiritual questions, you have to have a relationship with someone, period. Like, 100%. Y'all have such a great relationship. Y'all talk so much that it's not like a left field thing to be like, hey, how's your heart?
Yeah.
You would just say, how's your heart? Because you care about your heart. And I think the reason it feels weird sometimes to people is because sometimes it feels like, it's like that came out of left field. Like, you haven't cared about my heart in a long time. We haven't even hung out. Like, we haven't even like, and because y'all, it's like, if you can laugh together, you can cry together, like y'all have like this well-rounded relationship where it's like, you're going to call each other for anything. And it can be like the smallest thing to like, hey bro, like what protein powder are you using these days? So like,
hey, is YouTube TV worth it?
Yeah, is YouTube TV worth it? Or like, hey, I'm kind of struggling tonight. But like, that's the beauty of relationship. So I think if you have a relationship with someone, those things flow more naturally. And then there is a thing to like, sometimes it is hard to shift the conversations when you just have a fun relationship. And I think that comes from vulnerability. I mean, it's like, Christian, you weren't confronting Chance because you knew better. You're confronting Chance because you made mistakes and you're trying to like warn. And me and Bella had a really similar thing. Like, Bella and I have always been best friends. We slept in the same bed Christmas Eve and pretty much our whole life. We had 2 rooms but slept in the same one. I specifically remember even telling Bella, do you hear the reindeer? And her saying yes. Like, we have a very similar relationship to y'all. We were like best friends. And not until like 2 years ago did we get on like a spiritual level. And like, that's so funny because we're both like, love the Lord and like talk about spiritual things to other people, but like with each other for some reason it was just weird because we just never really done that. And then we went to that retreat together, and I guess we were just like really vulnerable with each other in that setting. And since then we have gotten so much closer, and like I didn't even know there was another level to get close to her, but there was once we started like literally confessing things to each other. And now like we hang out so much on like, just fun, but like we have intentional time like once a week to like catch up on like our heart. And that's just been amazing. So I think like, there is like intentionality to it, but it does start from having like a well-rounded relationship. Okay, y'all have heard me talk about AG1 for a while now, but for a limited time, I have a special offer for you that is a $67 value. If you follow me for a while, then you know I'm all about building healthy habits that help me live my best life. I actually started drinking AG1 because it is great for filling in nutritional gaps and gives me an awesome energy boost. All it takes is less than 1 minute, and you get your AG1, which delivers your daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, adaptogens, and more. AG1 is seriously so simple, y'all, and this is why I love it, because I am really bad at sticking to routines, but this one is kind of hard to mess up. You literally just put 1 scoop in a glass of cold water every day and you will feel so much better. AG1 has done so much for me, and I love that it contains all non-GMO ingredients and no added sugar. Just 1 scoop brings whole body benefits like immune, gut, and stress support. AG1 has been shown to double the amount of healthy bacteria in the gut, which improves digestion comfort in the long term. And a research study shows that 80% of people who drank AG1 AG1 for just 30 days. Notice less gas and bloating. Hello, I can say thank you for that. We'll take whatever we can get. Start with AG1 and notice the difference for yourself. It's a great first step in investing in your health, and that's why they've been a proud partner of ours for so long. Try AG1 today and get their special offer of 10 free travel packs and a bottle of vitamin D3 K2 with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/whoa. That's a $67 value for free if you go to drinkag1.com/whoa today to check it out.
And this might not make any sense, and we can maybe cut this if this sounds offensive. But it's even too, like, I think sometimes when you think of like spiritual conversations, like that's what I was trying to say earlier. It's like, I feel like you think you have to make it so spiritual. So like if Chance is like, asking me how I'm doing, like how do you feel like you're doing as a husband lately? Like that is being spiritual. Like you can be spiritual in that rather than being, that's no less spiritual than him being like, so as like the head of your household, how do you feel like you're shepherding your family? It's like it sounds more spiritual, but like it doesn't make it any more spiritual.
I think this is like a side sermon.
It is a side sermon.
Because I know you and like what you've been wrestling with. And if you are in like church culture, sometimes it can get a little interesting how like churchy people talk. And I feel like one of the things Christian and I have really tried to steer from is like sounding too churchy, that you like lose relatability. Yeah. And it's like you can ask the same question and like the same spiritual reality of the question of like, how are you doing as a husband? And then like, how are you shepherding? And like, yes. And that was a really great example of showing the difference of like just asking a question that equally brings you to God, but one sounds like unrelatable and one sounds like, hey, how you doing?
You're still going to talk about spiritually. Yeah, I feel good. Like I've been struggling with maybe insecurities, and like I feel like you can be praying for me in this. Like it still gets back to spiritual, but like you don't have to word it to make it sound overly spiritual.
People. Then it makes you feel weird. And then you feel like you have to have a churchy. Like one time someone asked me, this is a good friend of mine, she's probably going to hear this and then this is going to be funny, but I'll text her about it later. She said, what's your theology behind women in the church? And I was like, I've never been to seminary, so like I don't really know like what books I would necessarily say taught me whatever, but I'll just kind of talk about what I learned from the Bible. Like, and I'll start talking about the woman at the well, and she went, oh, no, that's what I meant by like, I just meant like, what like theology is like study of the Bible, like, but it was the way she said it, it made it seem like because she said like, what's your theology stance? It almost sounded like, who do you align with? Like this person or this person, or like this school or this teaching or that thing.
Rather than it's like, what are your thoughts
lost
on?
Me, and I got nervous, and I thought I had to have like a spiritual answer, and I was like, I'm just gonna talk about the Bible, and instead of like making up something, I just told her the truth. And then she was like, no, that's what I meant. Like, and I said, sorry, just the way you asked me, I thought it was more like whose, I don't know, opinion do I think? And so, yeah, it's just like being, and I think that's a good tip too, just like in the world, like being the light of the world, like you're being the light in the world. So like the world's not going to understand like these churchy lingo sometimes, like just be
that's what I'm trying to say. I feel like you don't have to word things super spiritual to get in a spiritual conversation with whoever, like let alone your brother. Like it's as simple like, hey, have you been wrestling with anything lately? Like you don't have to make it sound weird.
That was a good side sermon.
So, just a side sermon because that bugs me.
I want to ask this question because I actually think this is, I'm not going to ask it as a question. I'm going to say the question, then I'm going to say why I'm choosing it, because it's going to sound like I'm like, tell me what you love about me, but it's not because of that. But a lot of people ask, like, what do you respect about your wives? And that actually is like a common question, like, what do you respect about your wife? And the reason I want to bring this kind of back to a question I already asked was when we were talking about when you started maturing, and so much of it, you were like, I didn't even know that was dumb. Like, I didn't even know not to follow accounts on Instagram, or I didn't even know not to post certain pictures. I didn't even know. And then like when you started dating Maya, one thing I saw Maya do really well, and me and Maya have even like talked about this in our early dating, is like just telling y'all like kind of what we needed and what we expected, and like and then y'all would do it. Like, and it wasn't like a hard thing. It would just be like, hey, I'd rather you not follow this person. Done. Unfollow. Like, hey, I don't want you to post a picture with that person because it makes me feel uncomfortable. I understand that. Like, and it wasn't like us controlling y'all, and it wasn't like, And there were times certainly where, and we've talked about this, I've been open about this, I did get jealous of people and was like over controlling in some things. And I look back and I'm like, oh, I hated that I acted like that, but that was out of my own insecurity and hurt. Hindsight, I wish I would have acted better, but I do think that like a lot of it was y'all respected our opinion and then y'all changed. And so I do think like, should the man lead? Absolutely. But I do think that the woman does have a place in helping, just like, like kind of just give expectations. And then it's up to y'all to say like, yeah, that's good. That I want to protect your heart in that. Or even you were honest with me, and that's why I love your bluntness. Hey, like that's crazy. Like you're overthinking it, you know? And then I'd be like, actually, that's one of my favorite things about Christian, because a lot of people wouldn't like tell me that. And I was like, you're right. Like that is like, that's too far or whatever. And so you were really good at handling the balance of that. So, cause I don't want girls to be like, oh yeah, now I can go tell my boyfriend, like he needs to blah, blah, blah. And then poor guys like, stop listening to, well, that's good.
And it's a two-way street as well. I remember when me and Maya first, started talking, dating. I remember like she was at like this one like friend hangout and posted a picture just like of a group of people, but her like ex was there. And I remember I was calling y'all and I was like, am I being crazy? Being like asking her like why she's there. Like, you know, I don't want to be this like controlling boyfriend. And we I don't even think we were dating yet. I was like, I don't want to be this like controlling person, but our relationship was leading towards dating. And I was like, I don't want to be this controlling person in this sense. And actually some really good advice. But this is for,
is this your best piece of advice you've ever been given?
This is just really good advice.
This is really good relational advice. Christian was telling me, I was asking him like, is that right that it bothers me about that? And Christian was saying it doesn't matter, like that if it bothers you, then she should care. And if she doesn't care, then that's a red flag. And then after you told me that, I was like, okay, boom, I'm just going to go in and say it then. Because at first I was super nervous. And then after you told me that, I was like, yeah, wait, what do I have to worry about? So I'm just going to present how I feel. And if she respects the way I feel, then awesome. And if she doesn't, then we're going to need to chat about that.
Yeah, I remember that. That was really good advice, actually. Yeah.
Well, because I had a friend whose brother called me a few weeks ago, and he was saying like he's in this relationship, and like I don't really think they're following Jesus right now, but his girlfriend like wears like she wears these inappropriate things whenever they go out, and it bothers him, and he says like, hey, that bothers me, but like she doesn't change it, and I'm like, look, like, you know, y'all are just dating. I was like, it's going to be a long road for you if like she thinks that's, you know, holding to her higher standard of like, hey, I don't really appreciate it when you dress like that, you know? So like even things like that, it's like if something bothers you and you reciprocate it and it's kind of like pushed off or being like that shouldn't bother you, like, then it's like, that is a red flag, because like you can only suppress things like that for so long to where it's like, it just gets tired. It's like, if you did something all the time that annoyed me and you never change it, then like that, like then clearly I would feel like you don't really care that that offends me.
I think that's so true. And like so much of it is just like, how do they steward your heart, you know, because you got to protect your heart. And I think when you're giving your heart to someone, you're also like entrusting them to protect your heart as well. And so just seeing if they care, because even for me, like even in the things I said, man, I wish I did differently, and you helped me so much. And like you didn't come at me like I said you're crazy, but you didn't say that. Like you're like, I understand.
I'm not that blunt.
I understand in past relationships, you know, this made you feel this way. Yeah. This is not the same thing. Like I'm not the past. Like this is me. You trust me. Have I ever given you a reason? And like reminding me of truth, you know? And that was like really protecting my heart, because you were like, yeah, I didn't need to act like that. I didn't need to think like that. But so much of it's like, I didn't know any better, you know, because I had done relationships so differently before I met you, and different than the way that you did relationships differently before you met me. It just was, they just looked different, you know? And so I think, you're learning together. And so much of it is like being honest with each other about where you're at, what your expectations are, and then seeing how the other person responds. So important in dating, man, that's so important in dating, because you're seeing what kind of spouse you're going to have. And if they care about the things that you care about. So,
and if they don't, don't, then they shouldn't be your spouse.
Yeah. And I love that you say the way that you steward it, because there's definitely different ways to go about how to handle those confrontations, of like, how are you bringing up the conversation? It's like, if you lead the conversation in a negative way and like make the person put up walls, then the conversation's not going to go well. They're going to shut down and they're not going to want to listen to
talk to you about it.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas, if you come into it, it's like how you said Christian didn't say you're crazy, but he led into it in a lot kinder of a way. Whereas if he just started off saying you're crazy,
I would have been defensive.
Exactly.
But I was like open to hearing it, and I was like, you're right. Like I am insecure because of whatever reason, then it leads to like a vulnerable conversation. And so man, like if you're afraid to have those conversations in dating, then I would argue that you shouldn't be dating, because I think dating is to hopefully lead you towards marriage. And I'm not talking about first date. I think people overthink that. I'm talking about like, as you're getting into the relationship, if you're afraid to have hard conversations, then I don't think you're ready for marriage, because like marriage, like you said, this would be a long road for you if you're not willing to like say something that bothers you and just talk about it. And if you don't have a relationship where you can even say that and it not become like that doesn't even have to be a big thing. That can just be like, oh yeah, sorry, like I didn't even know. So I think that's such a good point. This is, first of all, going so good. And so
this is great.
I'm just so appreciative of this. And y'all are both, I mean, you're my husband, you're my brother-in-law, but like beyond that, I just really mean this when I say like y'all are such good men for people to look up to, guys and girls, and like set such a great example and inspiration. And I know it's kind of like a random like, oh, like chance to come on the podcast, but it's so not random. Like this is like you have such a voice, and like if you're not following Chance on social media, then you need to, because he even has a blog, Not by Chance, and does all kinds of stuff and like just speaks so much life over people. And so I just don't want to end this conversation, because I know like so many guys and girls are learning so much from this. I want to ask you, because we talked a little bit about, well, first I'll ask you about this, because there are a lot of parents who listen to this podcast, and mostly, I mean, there's a lot of older parents who listen to this too, but a lot of new parents who are like raising boys. There's a lot of moms who are like, I have 4 little boys. I have a little boy. Like, how do I raise him to be a strong Christian man? How do I raise my brothers to love each other? And like, obviously that's a huge question, but what are things that you saw your parents do, hindsight, that you look at and you're like, man, they did a good job of cultivating our relationship, but also just kind of pouring into us becoming the godly men that we are?
Yeah, we were talking about this on the way over. I think something that our parents did such a great job of.
Which you're going to laugh at this, but this was pre-high school.
This was whenever we were younger.
Growing up.
But I think something that was super important is whenever we had a dinner at home, it was all 4 of us and we were all present. There was no TVs on. We would pray before the meal, and it would just be us 4 eating dinner at the house. And I was telling Christian, like, I think that was such a big thing in our household, is because, obviously some families aren't as fortunate in the sense of like some parents have to work double jobs. Some parents have to do different things to provide for their families. But I just think for us, like our whole family getting together at one point in the day, no phones, just getting to interact with one another, see how each other's days was. I thought that was huge. I thought that just instilled, like a great sense of community. Yeah. Like there was no going up to your room with your dinner. There was no taking your dinner onto the couch to continue watching your show. Yeah. It was like you stopped what you were doing when dinner was ready. We came, we prayed, and we ate.
I feel like y'all still do that. Like I
was meaning like you were going to be like, y'all ate out all the time.
Yeah, which we do. We do eat out.
Eating out's good too.
Yeah, we do eat out a lot.
I know, but I mean like cultivate like in our house, like sitting at the table together.
Yeah,
like,
I feel like y'all do that so well. I feel like that was something I loved about your family whenever I joined your family, is like all of our dinners. That was sometimes I got to know your parents the most was over dinner, because there was no distractions and we were just like sitting and talking. Some of the funniest like stories I've heard y'all tell have been over the dinner table moments. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think it matters if you eat out, you bring food in, or you cook. Like, no, I know. I actually love y'all's family dinners, and I think y'all have done a really good job of that.
And obviously, you spoke to it just a second ago, but yeah, if you're listening to this and you don't have, you don't have both your parents present, your parents are divorced, you've lost a parent, like you don't, that's not your story, then it's kind of a tough thing to speak to. But if you're listening to this and you do have, you know, like if you listen to this and your mom or your dad and you are married, you do have siblings, like don't let like an excuse of being busy keep you from cultivating that.
For
sure.
Like, so don't let that be your excuse of why you can't make that happen. So
for sure. I think that's something that our parents did so well, is I feel like I've never seen two more busy people that have made more time for the two of us growing up. Which was awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think they're so involved. Like both of them have been like so involved in your life. They don't miss a thing. Like, and they talk to y'all every single day to like hear about your life, like be intentional about knowing your life. And then like y'all stories from high school are so funny of like y'all getting in trouble and stuff. But like your mom was on it. Like she was not letting it slide because like she cared about y'all and they wanted to know about your life and like what's going on. And your dad's just been like super, super present in your life. Like that's such a blessing. For sure. And I think that has really been generational in your family because it is so rare that you guys had this, but like both sets of grandparents and like all of your aunts and uncles, like none of them have been divorced. Like that's like crazy. Like that's almost like unheard of, you know? And y'all have like, I feel like y'all's grandparents have done a great job of like what marriage looks like and being involved in your parents' life. And your parents have done a good job of doing that in y'all's life. And it's really, really beautiful. And I feel like, again, I know it's so hard if you have not had that, but you can be the start of that for the generations to come. Like it takes one person to go like, hey, I'm going to start that from my family line. And back to the genealogy in Matthew, like that was what was so powerful, is like from person to person, from generation to generation, God's faithfulness, you know? And there was a lot of messed up stuff in between, and then God redeems, and then someone else would pick it back up, you know? Like Rahab the prostitute, but hey, look, she's in the line of Jesus, you know? And so like you can make mistakes, but still be redeemed. Like that actually is a really good point. If you go read the genealogy of Jesus, like it all got to Jesus coming, but like there's some messed up people in that. But I think your family, like from generations, as far as generations that I know of your family, strong marriages, present parents, cousins close, like you guys make intentional moments to be around each other, and you value the time spent, which is like really rare and really, really special.
That's true.
Okay, so the other thing I wanted to ask, because we kind of talked about this with like baseball and stuff, like you're in the minor leagues right now, you've obviously like worked your whole life towards this, and even being on the minor leagues is such a huge accomplishment in and of itself and so wild. And I was even thinking about this with you too, Christian, because like you've started 4-8 Men, years of doing a podcast, starting the PDFs and stuff. And someone asked this question of like, you know, as a man, how do you deal with not being where you want to be in your career? And I feel like even though y'all both have accomplished so much, so that I'm not saying this in like, oh, y'all shouldn't be proud of where you are, because I feel like y'all should be so proud of where both of you are. But because I know both of you have more dreams, obviously you want to make it to the majors. You know, you've talked to me about wanting to grow for it, man, and what that is. How do you deal with that, like in between of working towards something, but you're just not there yet?
Yeah. I think that we had like a good conversation about that last night in the car of, you know, like, yes, you can want things, but it's also important to recognize where God has you, and realize that God has you there for a purpose. You know, if God wanted me to be a big leaguer this year, then it would have happened somehow, some way. But there's still things that he's developing in me, whether that's teaching me how to fail, because like, what am I going to do whenever I'm in the big leagues, hopefully one day, and it's on TV in front of thousands of fans, and it's not in front of my teammates and the couple hundred that show up for the minor league games, you know? So it's like teaching me failure, teaching me to be a good teammate, teaching me to be a light in the locker rooms before gaining more influence potentially. You know, it's all these kind of things as to why he has you in certain places.
It's good.
Before, I guess, elevating you or wanting you to have more. So I think, just as cliche as it sounds, like we were talking about, you know, you just really have to trust God with that he has you where you're supposed to be at.
It's so true.
That's so
and
good.
I love that you said that. Like, it's not just, it's not a wasted season. You're learning so much there.
Yeah.
And like, if you don't get, you know, the lessons in that, you wouldn't be ready for what's to come. And that's so true. Like, it's frustrating in the moment, but it's so true. And later you're like, I'm thankful I went through that, because then I'd be up here on the main stage and not be ready for like what life prepared me for.
And I think that's also cool too, is how you say ready. Like, God's not going to put you in a position that you're not ready for, that then you're going to fail at. You know, it's like he's going to make sure that you're ready for the position that he ultimately has for you.
Yeah, that's so good. I love that.
Yeah. No, that's good. Because that's the thing too. Like, and it's such a cliche answer of just trust where God has you, and, just follow his plan and those kind of things too. But I think sometimes, like, even realizing that, like, contentment doesn't equal complacency. Yeah. Like, you don't just be like, oh, I'm just in high A. Like, I'm content with where I'm at because this is where God has me. But I'm not going to strive to do more or to do better. Like, there's still a hunger for more. There's still a hunger to succeed and do. And even with what I'm doing, like there's more things I want to do, but I'm still content with where I'm at. But that doesn't mean that I'm just complacent every day and being like, well, I'm just not going to do anything because this is where God wants me. Like I'm still actively seeking things, but I'm not like, because I do know, and it's the same for you. It's like, if you were to do more things than what you're doing, then that means certain things take a backseat, right? That means maybe less time at home, or less time us together, or less time as a family, whatever that could look like. So, like, seasons come and seasons go. Like, each season's different, and just be content with where you're at. Like, that doesn't mean you have to just be stagnant and not do anything. Like, you can still be actively working towards something, but still be grateful for where you're at and be content in that moment and where God has you. But still be striving to do more and to do better.
So true. I don't know if this is like true because I just had this thought, so fact check. But I think it's mostly true. When you think about like Bible stories, like, it's very rare that God did like everything for them. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and
especially like God, let alone immediately.
No, but like God opened the door for them, or God called them, but like they had to get up and walk. Like, they had to do it, even like the guy with the mat, like, you want to be healed, pick up your mat. Like, even like Moses, like, I want you to go back to Egypt. Like, yeah, I'm going to send all these crazy, plagues. I'm going to do all this, and I'm actually going to make the sea split for you. But like, you got to walk yourself there. Yeah. You got to stand before Pharaoh. You got to lead a generation out. Like, even Peter, like, he was fishing. Like, he was a fisherman. He was doing a job, and he's like, I'm going to make you fisher of men. Like, there was like something they were doing that then God elevated them to like another level, and God made a way for them to get there, but it was still out of like their doing too that got them there. So I love that. It's like, yes, I'm content where I'm at, but I'm also gonna work where I'm at. Like, yes, God, I'm gonna ask you to move in my life in ways only you can. Like you said, if you want me to be in the big leagues, like, make a way, but I'm going to work my butt off so that when the way is made, I'm ready, to step into it. So I don't know if that's always true. There's probably stories in the Bible that God's like, boom, and did it. But I do think like most of the time, I mean, even Joshua, like they stood on Sarah, dry ground, like, all of them. There was like, there's motion involved. There was like, yes, God moved, God acted. It was amazing. It was huge, but they had a part to play in it too. And of hard work
and waiting. That's like, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's motion,
waiting and working.
But there's also waiting. Like, that's Abraham kept questioning God's promise because he's like we're 100, and like she didn't conceive till later. So if you're not like, if you want more, if you feel like you're maybe not where God's called you to, but you're in this season, like it's just a waiting season. Yeah. It's so which true. Sounds cliche to say to someone who like wants to get out of it, but it is true. And there's so many people in the Bible that went through the same thing. Yeah,
it's so true. Y'all, this is so good. I mean,
this was so good.
Circling back.
So yeah, I can't think of the best piece of advice that I've ever gotten, but a quote that I saw that was really cool, that I think can literally apply to everything. And it's cool. It said, the chains of habit are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken.
Whoa, that's good.
Bang.
I'm still thinking the chains of habit.
The chains of habit are too weak to be felt until they are too strong to be broken.
It's actually so true.
Because that is, and it can be with anything, it's like if you don't work at something, or if you do negative things for your life, think about just like with sin, it's like you don't realize how big of a grasp it has on you until
Yep.
you try to quit, and then you realize like how strong those
That's
chains
so
are.
true. Like I remember in middle school, whenever I was at a camp and the song "Slow Fade" started playing, I started crying. It was like,
Wait, what
it's
song?
slow fade
wouldn't
when
know
you
it.
give yourself away. Y'all remember that song? Oh my gosh, it hit me in my heart.
Speaking of songs, was that yesterday? We did not realize that yesterday David Crowder wrote "Every Move I Make."
Waves of mercy. Maybe we're wrong, but I think he did.
Okay, if we're wrong, you Googled it, didn't you?
I know, but maybe other people wrote it
Googled this
first.
yesterday. I didn't.
On the way to the church.
I was gonna say, I was like, how did I miss this in the car ride?
Oh my gosh. Well, truly, that was a good moment and a good episode. Chance, thanks. You didn't feel like a rookie. You're going to now have to be a regular.
You felt like
Thank you
I was like not thinking rookie,
My
but then
brother always keeping me humble.
Yeah,
my
Chance,
first
felt
thought
like
was
an
amateur.
Humble.
But then I was gonna say like seasoned, like veteran. You know, I guess veteran would be the word.
Seasoned vet.
Okay, seasoned vet.
You're like a seasoned vet on this
I wasn't
podcast,
like
bro.
amateur wasn't what I wanted to say, but it was like
You were trying to think along those lines.
I was trying to think, yeah.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
All right.